Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another live this morning. The doctor is in, and good to have you on with us. We enjoy it. And we'll say hello to a few of our friends this morning and do our little roll crawl. Well, we'll crawl. Brahim, you're number uno today, and Mike from Norland, number 2. Kristen, how are you? Madeleine, how are you? From Kippawa, Quebec. Andrea, Niagara Falls. Eric, Ottawa, bonjour. Nativity, good morning. And Betty Lynn, how are you? And Mary from Norwich. And Wendy from Markham. And Margaret from Lakeland. Kevin, there you are, Kev. How are you, buddy? From Oshawa. Fran from Orangeville. Frida. And Kathy. Sandra from Aurelia. Diane, good morning from Thunder Bay. And there's Cheryl from West Virginia. Gloria from New York. Diane from Ottawa. Kathy, Port Perry. Laurie, Niagara Falls. Gertie, how are you? Burlington. Linda, oh, we love those Lindas from New Brunswick. Nick from our staff. Susan, Florida, how are you? Georgie, Halifax. Nova Scotia, Deb from Timmins. And Marilyn, good morning. Sandy, Vancouver, Washington. Denise, near Detroit. Yolande, bonjour. And Margie, Kansas. Carol, Wasaga Beach. I bet you're swimming this morning. Maureen, Penticton, British Columbia. Catherine, Donna, good morning. From Newfoundland. And Sharon, good morning. Kathy, Wolf Island. Where's that? Sandy, Chilliwack, British Columbia. And Sue, pick me. Anne, Moncton, New Brunswick. Leila, Werner, good morning. Fran, Valkaren. And Marina. And Gary. And Donna. And Suzanne from Edmonton. 2 more. Carmen, Medicine Hat. Faye, British Columbia. Terrace. Karen, Indiana. Yvonne, I lied. I said 3. Mary from Newfoundland. Well, they're popping up in front of me. Dubraca. Okay, here we go. Guys, this is sort of a little follow-up on yesterday's program. You know, when we talked about how we all got duped. The world got duped. And at the end of the day, the disaster that ensued, okay? And we talked about that yesterday. Now, I want to follow up with another study that was paid for, well, let me read the headline to you because I saw it. I knew about it, but 50 years ago, okay? 50 years ago, not quite. But Big Sugar quietly paid, okay, this is the headline, 50 years ago, sugar industry, this is on NPR, quietly paid scientists to point blame at fat. Okay, remember I was telling you about the education, how Dr. Kellogg's really started, I don't know if I think I could say it. He started the dietitian profession and influenced medicine when it came to food. And I mean, we're going back a long time when that happened. And here's an article where Big Sugar which is a huge part of big food, paid 3 scientists, here's what it says, sugar industry quietly paid scientists to point blame at fat. Because what happened, a study came out in 1967 which identified the two, I'm just reading part of the article. In 1967, a study identified the true culprit behind diabetes and heart disease. And it was sugar, not saturated fat or cholesterol. 1967, my friend. So why didn't this become common knowledge? How come my dad knew it and the world didn't know it? In one of the books I wrote, oh man, well over 30 years ago, I think, I told the story of my father and one of his really good friends. They actually were in business together in a land deal, okay? And they were good buddies. And it seems like, and his son, okay, I'm going to call him Ed. His son and I went to high school together. We were in the same class. We were friends, okay? And I remember in high school, the day my dad came home and announced at the kitchen table that he was a diabetic, okay? That he was a diabetic. It was 1968. And it seems like, and I could be wrong on the timing a little bit, that my friend in high school and my dad's buddy was diagnosed with diabetes almost on the same day as my dad. Now, I got to tell you, in high school, I knew very little about diabetes. I knew that my grandfather had it, and my grandfather died of diabetes. And now my dad's got it. And my dad's buddy plus my buddy, his father, he's got it. Okay, and I tell this story in a book that I wrote years ago. And here's the point. My dad, the next day changed his life. It changed my life because I watched my father. My father was my hero. I loved, there was just nothing negative about my dad as far as me was concerned. They didn't call me Tony Jr. for nothing. Okay. And when I put a hat on, my wife says I married my father-in-law because I look like my dad. Okay. And, I never saw it as a kid, but as I got older, I realized, I guess I do look like my dad. Anyway, the point is this, okay? My dad gets up. I'm not kidding you. He hadn't been feeling well. His good buddy was a physician. My dad knew, but he probably never even realized he was becoming a diabetic. Anyway, he gets the diagnosis, comes home, tells all of us at the kitchen table he's a diabetic, and I'm scared for my father because, again, he was my hero. But my dad, the next day, gets up in the morning and starts jogging on the spot in our living room. You got to understand, 1968, you only ran if you were running away from the police. Nobody. There wasn't even the word jogging. But my dad started to run on the spot, jogging. I said, Dad, what are you doing? He said, well, remember yesterday I told you got diabetes? I'm going to get in shape. And within a day or two, okay, my dad had another conversation with me after. It was amazing because my mother started preparing a meal just for my father. Okay? My dad always came home late anyways. I think only on Sundays did we ever have supper, maybe Saturdays and Sundays. But my dad always came home late from the office, saw patients till the cows came home. Okay? And then I used to love sitting with my dad when, alone, because you could get his attention. And I used to sit by my dad and watch him eat. I'd already eaten. But listen, my dad told me and my mother, we had conversations over this. Why are you making a separate meal for my father? This is 1968, my friend. Well, because he's a diabetic. Okay. But my father said to me, son, it's sugar diabetes. 1968. 1968. My dad cut out sugar in his diet. No more dessert. Okay? There was no sugar-free in those days. I think, I tell the story in the book of my father drinking. He was the first guy to ever drink that I knew that drank. I think they started coming out with diet soda. And my dad used to love drinking soda. He wouldn't drink anymore. And they came out with Tab. Oh, my word. You never tasted anything. It tasted like urine, for heaven's sake. I said, Dad, how can you drink that? He said, remember, I'm a sugar diabetic. You think that ever left me? But listen to what happened in 1960s. And, okay, I get down rabbit trails and I forget to bring you back. Let me tell you about my buddy, his father, my dad's buddy. He got the diagnosis of diabetes, never changed a thing. I remember it like it was yesterday. He never changed any of it. Like I asked my buddy, John, like my dad, he's jogging. My dad doesn't eat any sugar. My dad has steak every night. I don't know I knew why, but I asked my friend, is your dad doing that? He said, absolutely not. What? What's food got to do with diabetes? He says to me. But my dad, his life was revolutionized. Changed. It changed my life. I started exercising. I was in high school. I was always an athlete. But now, I said, Dad, wake me up. You're going jogging in the morning. My mom kicked him out. You ain't jogging. You're going to wear out my carpet. Okay? You're going to wear out my carpet. Because we had a shag carpet. My dad, you're going to wear it out. Get out. So he started running around the yard for a half an hour. Then he said, I'm going to run around a track at a high school. And I said, Dad, you wake me up. I'll go with you. Early in the morning. I've never stopped working out, by the way. Okay, here's the point. Okay, here's the point. My dad's buddy, Ed, within a few years, got really sick and died. He didn't take care of himself. Diabetes is sugar diabetes. They even changed the name And that's well documented, not only on this program, but that fact, okay? Now, I read this article in NPR that didn't come out. It was about 1967, but I'm reading an older article. It says 50 years ago, the sugar industry in 1967. So it's more than 50 years ago now, but I'm reading an article that was posted yesterday again. 50 years ago, sugar industry quietly paid scientists to blame fat for diabetes and heart disease. They blamed fat and cholesterol. And then it took off like wildfire. They paid 3 scientists. Here's the article. I read this years ago, by the way, but I'm just telling you. They paid 3 scientists, the sugar industry, paid 3 scientists $65,000 each. That's a lot of money in 1967 money. That would be like, what, $1 million each today? Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be just about $1 million today each. To say, even though, okay, even though in 1967 a study came out that laid the blame of diabetes right at the feet of sugar, and same with heart disease. And the whole world didn't hear about it. My dad did. My dad got the memo. Ed, he didn't get the memo. And people didn't get the memo. And the reason is because I told you yesterday, the big food conglomerates hid the research and started another narrative. And the world, hook, line, and sinker, went down that path. Went down that path. And we have today medications that are still number 1 in the world in terms of sales, has to do with lipids, cholesterol, instead of looking at the biggest culprit, and that is sugar, my friend. Look, when you do the reset, okay, the reset is an elimination diet. It's not moderation, it's elimination. No sugar. Why? Because it's at the root. Okay? And anything that turns to sugar rapidly. But if you do nothing else, but cut out sugar in your diet, watch what happens. That's history, my friend. It's history. And U.S. sugar, okay, this article goes on to say that because of that the U.S. sugar consumption, remember what I told you guys, okay? Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. When I was a boy, okay, in the 1950s, this is just facts, only the facts, man. The average North American consumed 25 pounds of sugar a year. Now, that was too much. It was too much. I had cookies and ice cream. 25 pounds of it. Okay? 25 pounds of it a year. I mean, you take out a 25-pound bag, it's pretty big. We consume that in a year. But remember, I'm a historian, nutritional historian. And in the 1970s, my 4 kids were born in the 1970s. They were up to 50 pounds a year. Why? The sugar industry and the food industry lied. Liars, liars, pants on fires. They went after fat. They paid researchers, imagine that, scientists, $65,000 each to lie. They lied and people died. Remember what they said about George Bush and the Iraqi war? Bush lied and people died. Remember that saying? It caught on. Scientists lied and people died. Millions and millions of people have died because of that lie. Even today, okay? Even today, there are people out there in the food industry, people out there, gurus, people that I went to school with, some of my colleagues believe in moderation rather than elimination. Well, they believe in elimination, all right, but they want to eliminate meat. They want to eliminate steak. They believe in elimination. I've talked to some of my colleagues, people that have the same credentials I have. And they believe in moderation when it comes to sugar and elimination when it comes to meat. What did I tell you? Right? That the world got duped, guys. The forces to be, and the forces to be have taken over the dietitians. They've taken over medical school. They really have the major influence on media. And big pharma and big food are right in the middle of it. Now, I'm not saying they don't do good things. I'm not saying they don't employ good people. I'm not saying that at all. Okay? But today, we have a narrative. And I just wanted to talk about that for a minute because you have to understand the forces to be and how they influence the world. And it's incredible. And today, a well-established, at least amongst you and I, the big problem in the world is sugar. The big problem in the world is insulin resistance. It is the major contributor to cardiovascular disease. It was hidden. They knew it in 1967. They hid it. And the world never, ever, ever recovered from it, because here we are today. And we got 93% of the population, 93%, have some form of metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome is caused by food. It's a food problem. And metabolic syndrome and you're getting a lot of research now that even cancer is a metabolic disease. They always said it's genetics. They were trying to find genes and play with those genes and find medications to change that. And they put all their money in that. And today, God bless them, but the cancer industry is still stuck. It's like go to the mall and you see a guy walking around that's still dressed like Elvis. Didn't Elvis die in 1976? Was it 76 or 77? I loved Elvis. Okay, what year did he die? I remember the day he died because I was being interviewed on CTV and they bumped me. They flew me down to Toronto to the CTV headquarters, and I was coming on to do an interview on health. That's how long I've been around, guys. And Elvis Presley died overnight. Guess what they did? They bumped me. I was supposed to do it live, but you know what they did? They taped me. No, but seriously, what year was that? Nan says 1977. Okay. That was, guys, you're right, 77. I didn't know if it was 76 or 77. I couldn't remember. Okay. Back to Elvis. Go to the mall. Let's say you see a guy with long black sideburns, bell bottoms, and he thinks he's Elvis. Okay? You go, what? He's stuck in the 70s. My friend, that's where medicine is at. It's stuck in the 70s. It's stuck. And today, cancer therapy, yeah, it's more targeted. It's advanced to some extent. But my friend, it's three things. It's chemo, it's radiation, or surgery. Now, there's one thing coming out that I kind of like. Immunotherapy. Okay? And I'm not saying they don't do any good things. All I'm saying is they're stuck. And it's based on the wrong premise. Cancer industry is all about detection, not prevention. They don't talk about food. As a matter of fact, if you get the diagnosis of cancer and you were to take a survey amongst 99% of all oncologists, they would not equate food, 99%, at all to cancer. I've told you the story many a times about me and an oncologist because we had a mutual patient. As a matter of fact, I sent that patient to the oncologist because I was pretty sure she had breast cancer. Now, I told her what I suggested she do, but I said, look, I can't make that official diagnosis, but I think you got breast cancer. And guess what? I was right. Anywho, the oncologist was mad at me because I had given advice to the patient. I said, whatever they do, that's over there. Okay? That's over there. Whatever they do, if any treatment, you decide. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But here's what you ought to do with food. No more sugar. Now, the oncologist actually called me and said, Dr. Martin, why did you say that to the, and she was mad at, she was mad at me. And I said, well, first of all, Doc, just understand one thing. I'm the one that sent her to you. Oh, she didn't know that. I said, I'm the one that wanted her to go see you. Because I was very suspicious that she had breast cancer. And I was right. So that calmed the oncologist down a little bit. I said, well, I'm the one that told her to go to see you. Oh, she said, okay, now, tell me about food. Because you said that she shouldn't have any sugar. And I just gave her Boost. What? Or Ensure. I said, you want to boost the cancer or ensure the cancer? And she's on the phone and going, what? What are you talking about? I said, listen, sugar. Cancer needs sugar. It needs fuel. What? Imagine. It took this smart lady at least 10 years of post-secondary education to become an oncologist. And she hadn't a clue about sugar. I don't even know if she believed me. I had to explain to her how a CAT scan, a PET scan works. She didn't know. I said, do you have a PET scan? Yeah. Yeah, we use it. How does it work? Well, I don't know. You put the person in the machine and it tells you if they have cancer. I said, right. How does it work? You have to give them glucose. You know what another name for glucose is? Sugar. Hello. It started a good relationship between us, though. Okay. It did. Okay, I was brutally honest in a very, very nice way. Brutally honest, though. I said, I'm telling you, there's a huge connection between food and cancer. And guys, this is maybe 15 years ago. We know so much more today than we did then on the effects of food and cancer, the effects of food and cardiovascular disease. What do you think they call Alzheimer's? Hidden, lied to. 2005, I remember blowing my socks off on my radio show, telling people that the new research is Alzheimer's in 2005 is type 3 diabetes. And that got poo-pooed too. Buried by the powers to be. Guys, why do you think I'm so passionate? I can't handle it. When you can't speak the truth. Look, it's the thing you can control, food. 1967, a study identified the true culprit behind diabetes and heart disease, and it was sugar, not saturated fat or cholesterol. So why didn't this become common knowledge? Big Sugar paid 3 scientists $65,000 each to prove that sugar was harmless. Sad state of affairs, isn't it? Sad state of affairs. And even today, here we are in 2023. And if you went down the street and you went door to door knocking, take a survey, and they said, okay, what causes heart disease? Let's do a survey. And 99% of the doors you'd knock on would tell you that cholesterol is the problem. And eating fat is a problem. And we got to get away from that. And if you ask them about cancer and food, it would be a blank stare. What? My mother had breast cancer. That makes me more susceptible. Not really. Not really. You can override genetics. Okay? It's a small percentage. Things are not inevitable. Take control of your health. You do it. Okay? Hey guys, we love you. You never heard that before. Seriously. We love you big time. Guys, I hope you get a little bit of, I know you get it, but I'm just saying, you got to understand why I'm so passionate about it. Okay? Ugh, my blood pressure goes up. Ugh. Okay. Guys, we love you. We'll talk to you soon.